There's a whole heap happens in this episode. Basically, if you've seen Casablanca, that's this episode. I haven't actually watched Casablanca for many years, but I'm very familiar with the Red Dwarf episode Camille, which also follows the structure of Casablanca and came out a few months before this episode did. I do believe that it was based on Casablanca and not on the Red Dwarf episode, from which a TNG episode was definitely stolen. But I just found it difficult to keep the two separate because I'm more familiar with Camille than with Casablanca itself.
God, yes.
Before we go into first impressions, thank you, Wikipedia, again, for our episode summary and for some background info on the episode, to Memory Alpha for detailing Star Trek places, names, dates, events, the Star Trek Minutiae website for having the Deep Space Nine shooting scripts, and indeed every Star Trek shooting script. If you're interested in reading through the original scripts, they're all there. And to the TrekCore website for screen caps for this episode.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kat. We like to acknowledge all the help we get from the internet. It can be good for some things. Hurrah.
It is still a good resource at the moment, AI permitting.
Hanging on there. We're hanging on in there. Yes, you mentioned Casablanca, and in the chat there, Nigel's immediately pleased to see that we mentioned it up the top, because, of course, it is so close to that story. I'm going to have to be a Philistine and admit I've never seen Casablanca, because I'm quite bad at consuming pop culture that isn't Star Trek, apparently.
Well, I mean, you can now see Casablanca as an offshoot of this episode. Enjoy it through that lens. It's genuinely a good film. It's amazing how many famous quotes, famous scene ideas come from that film. So I would definitely recommend it. And it's got Claude Rains, who played the Invisible Man in the Universal horror film, as the police inspector at the end.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will make an effort, and then I will compare it very unfavourably to an episode of my favourite TV show and go, wow, it's all right, but it's no profit and loss. And then I will...
That's how all media should be consumed.
Exactly. What does it scale against Deep Space Nine? That's what I want to know. So, with that in mind, I will pop some quick thoughts up at the top, and I will beg everyone's forgiveness that, things that I may think are amazing and revolutionary in terms of storytelling, you're going to tell me it's from a film that's, 80 years old. When did it come out? 50s? Something like that.
Oh, God, is that really 80 years ago now?
Yeah. Something terrifying like that. Yeah. So, Profit and Loss, to me, is splendid. I think it's a brilliant episode. It doesn't have some of the things that we would normally look for in a good episode, which is a B and a C plot.
True.
It essentially all revolves around the strand of Lang, her colleagues, and Cardassia. What it does do then is give loads of time and space to characters to interact, to build backstory, to world build, to have some nice stuff that we don't normally see. I think some of the model shots are new and novel. It doesn't give us loads of time with the rest of the senior staff, which is a shame. But at the same time, it's great to see Quark lead an episode, and he has just some brilliant interactions with the cast members he does interact with Garak, with Odo, with Natima, with Cisco. There are some brilliant one-on-one set pieces that, to me, do what a good Trek story should always do, which is look essentially like a play, where people just absolutely to the scenery, to the plot, and you've got to pay attention to follow what's going on. The show doesn't reward you scrolling your phone because you suddenly look up and two people are fighting and you're like, wait, what? How did that happen? So you've got to stay on board. I find Cardassia in Society fascinating. I love that this is already so early in kind of Star Trek and Deep Space Nine. It's going, look, it's not the planet of hats that I've often complained, Star Trek's done before with Klingons, Vulcans, and that. It's showing you complexity, depth. TNG does it well with the Romulans when it shows, how there is complexities to Romulan society. And now, finally, we're getting some of that impression from Cardassian society, which is great. It gives them depth, nuance, all that good stuff. It goes so fast, but also doesn't feel rushed. It just feels like things are happening, and, nothing feels rushed, but nothing also feels kind of like it's dragging. Everything happens right on the beat for me.
Yeah.
So I loved that, and then, God, even the action's kind of cool in its way. There's double crosses, triple crosses. Quark gets shot and falls over really, really well. I mean, there's a brilliant little roll he does. This episode has just got loads of stuff I love, and I've come away half remembering it, thinking, I thought that was a good episode, and then I've come back, and it's brilliant. I think the guest stars are good. Maria as Natima's great. The two students, I think, really don't get a lot of shrift,
Yeah.
but it's not their story really. Um, God, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure Kat is going to take this now as a new viewer and find some things, and I'm going to go, oh God, yeah, that's such a good point. And they're going to tear it down in front of me, but that's fine. That's what the podcast is for. They will open my eyes to something I've not seen before.
Sometimes I actually really enjoy the episodes of this show that we're watching at a pace of one a fortnight at most, and which I'm desperate to see more of, Tim. I actually love it.
I'm glad. I am glad. So yeah, that's everything from me, Kat. Please take it from the top.
Yeah, just my first impressions. I really enjoyed this episode. So many of the lines feel like old Hollywood. I think it's very deliberately an homage to Casablanca, and indeed, according to Memory Alpha, they actually had to revise the script because it was originally so close that they were worried about getting sued by the studio that owns Casablanca. They couldn't get the rights to it, so they had to. I think they went as far as adjusting names, but I haven't been able to find any definite background on that.
Interesting.
But I like what changes I can see that they've made. I love that they make Natima Lang herself a professor who is involved in the revolution. In Casablanca, the woman is the wife of an important man who must go back to him so that he remains happy and continues his work. It's a bit spurious, to be frank. So I really like that change. I think that's very well suited.
I would agree.
And I really enjoyed the story. I think that Quark gets some excellent action. Apparently Ira Stephen Bear, the producer, did not like Quark being a hero. He felt that he was not the right he's not the right character for that role. I will see about it when we get to it. I think to some extent I can agree with him. I think Odo is the better character for playing a hero when it comes to it, but Odo isn't going to get involved with a woman at this point in his arc, whereas Quark is 100% going to have had a past with romance in it, and I'd like seeing that play out. So yeah, there was a heck of a lot that I really enjoyed about it, but shall we get going with our scene by scene?
I'm happy to get into it. I think
what it contains.
The only thing neither of us has pointed out is this is a welcome return for Garak, who we haven't seen since Cardassians, which was that season 1 or was that?
It was early season 2.
Early season 2. So it's been a long while, and he's back.
This is his third episode. We're getting towards the end of season 2, and this is the third episode my favourite character's been in.
And just at the top, would you say that he steals every scene he's in? Because I kind of feel like he steals every scene.
I think there is a slight risk with Garak that because I love him so much on the basis of like 2 scenes in early season 1, I've built him up a lot in my head. I have a blobber in my head, my adorable.
Yeah.
And Garak is not always going to fit that blobbo because I haven't actually seen a lot of Garak. I just formed an obsession around this person I don't know very well, and when he does something I dislike, I'm going to be, oh no, not you, how could you? Well, because he's a deliberately mysterious character who is Cardassian and has some love of his homeland. So yeah, I am looking forward to learning more about Garak as we go, and also realizing that he isn't just some cute little guy that fancies Bashir. He's actually a Cardassian loving spy dude who's definitely killed people.
That is exactly why I suggested this podcast in the beginning. Kat's not seen Deep Space Nine. They don't know what's coming down the line. So for them to discover the complexities of these characters is wonderful to see and observe. And remember when we first saw it for the first time. So thank you, Kat. And I appreciate this is also putting you through torment. But your torment is delicious and enjoyable to us. So please carry on.
Thank you, Tim. And I think that there is also that I have come of age in the age of the meme, that I experience cultural artifacts in a slightly different way than we did in the 1990s.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
And in a less, there's a risk of my not feeling it in a serialized way and appreciating what's been built up in favor of, I said that line that I've seen in the meme. Funny guy. Yeah. So yeah, that is another thing that I bring to my unique view of Deep Space Nine, the memification thereof before actually having enjoyed it.
We are both shit posters at the end of the day. We love Star Trek shit posting, so the memes, they flow through us. It is quite the challenge. But that is enough.
Can be boiled down to a brief moment rather than the thousands of hours that went into creating the thing. We'll take it.
All for that quick dopamine hit. Come on.
We're now in Natima's quarters, where Natima and Quark are alone. And they rely fairly heavily on this trope of one of them walking up to camera and looking dramatically through the fourth wall, which I love. We've got an image of that here, of Natima walking up and just staring while Quark is in the background looking after her. And Quark tries to get Natima to stay. She says, "I'm not part of your life." And he replies, "But you are. You always have been." I'm pretty sure that's lifted almost word for word from Casablanca. Quark asks Natima to say that there isn't a spark of love left in her, which she does, and then he slaps his hands together and says, "I heard you hesitate!
You hesitated."
She then pulls out a phaser, and after threatening him with it, she shoots him. And I love it. The script only calls for him to be thrown back against a wall and then collapse. But in these quarters, there aren't many stretches of wall that you can actually fall against. There's recesses and replicators and doors. So instead, Armin Shimmerman tumbles backwards over the bed. He does like a full somersault before lying on the floor.
It's brilliant.
And he drops the little cloaking device which he's holding. None of this is in the script, incidentally. It's only described as him being thrown back against a wall. But he drops the little device. And it looks just like, it reminded me so strongly, this is really pretentious, of the scene in Citizen Kane where he drops the snow globe and says, "Rosebud!" It was just so reminiscent of it for no reason.
So I put that picture up because Kat did share that picture with me, and you can see it. There it is. You're not telling me in this episode full of references to Casablanca that they didn't reference Citizen Kane. There it is.
Oh, it's great. It's so silly.
It is so very silly and also very enjoyable. This scene is just it's brilliant. The dialogue is great. The characters are great. The physical comedy alongside all of this heartfelt, slightly noir-esque language.
That she shoots him. I love that she shoots him. I love that she's
It was an accident.
To the extent that she shoots him. We then actually fade to black on Quark, not knowing whether he's dead or not. And we fade in again with him on the floor and Natima rushing to kneel by his side. He says, "You shot me," and she says it was an accident. She's never shot a phaser before. And I think it's a very cheeky fade in, fade out. Deep Space Nine tends not to fade in and fade out on exactly the same scene. They will tend to switch scenes before and after an ad break. I think in the last few episodes they've actually done it a few times because they've had quite a few episodes without a strong B and C plot to go back to.
We talked about this last time, that there's nowhere else to go to in the story. Yeah, that's a really good point.
They could have gone back to someone in ops talking about the situation with the prisoners, but that would undercut reveals made to Quark and Natima later. So I think it was the right decision here. It's just a little odd that they do it.
That's a good point.
She says the phaser was only on the first setting. Quark refuses to see a doctor, saying, "It's okay, maybe if you rub it." And I feel we have to point out he was shot in the shoulder, not lower down on his body, because frankly, Quark, no, dude, he's being full on Ferengi lecherous here. But he has just been shot, so he gets away with it. Natima apologizes for shooting him, and for all the horrible things I said, "I love you, Quark. I've always loved you, even when I hated you." And I think, at this point, the episode is following a trope of if the boy keeps trying hard enough, the woman will eventually be won round. I think there is, I don't know, it's complicated. I think in the 90s there was quite a lot of that on television. We didn't yet have in many shows, films, books, we didn't have a strong feeling for if the woman is saying no, that means no, and you immediately back away. You do not keep trying. The trope was, no, you keep trying and you persist, and eventually she'll be so overwhelmed by your love for her that she'll give in.
You'll win her over.
Exactly. I think what's happening here is slightly different. She genuinely wants to get away with her two students. She wants to look after them. She is still angry about what happened with Quark in the past. She has feelings for him, but what she knows of him means that she is fighting against her impulses in that regard. It is genuinely quite complex, I think, and I don't think it plays out badly per se here, but I wish it had been done slightly differently. I think I don't like she got as far as shooting him to ward him off and then feels so sorry immediately that she gets back together with him. It's too pat. Maybe there needed to be something else, some other memory shared between them, something that makes her I don't know. I don't know what it would be, is the thing. And it's such a well-written episode generally that I don't want to undermine it by saying, and this bit's completely unacceptable by our modern standards, but it's not
Right.
great.
No, this is it. And we've mentioned this. We said it right at the beginning, you know. We were going to have a whole separate section where we dug into how a show made in 1994 will just not always chime with the moral values that we as, you know,
Yeah.
viewers have in 2026.
And a show based on an episode based on a 1940s film shot in the 1990s. Yeah, perhaps even more so is likely to fall into older romantic tropes, which have now fallen out of favour.
This is it. This is it. So I think all we can engage with then is, you know, take into account the source material when it was made, that it's a 90s sitcom, sit drama, and think, well, look, you know, is this something we can even excuse in universe? Not really, no. It still feels like, as I said right at the beginning to Kat, I feel a bit like Natima's in a difficult situation, and it would be easy to extort her emotionally. So that also gives me pause. The only redeeming grace is that I don't think it was ever written that way. It was only ever written as funny Quark actually tries to do a nice thing and is so besotted with a woman he goes to ridiculous extremes. And we aren't meant to read it, and it was never written with the intent, I think, of painting Quark as some kind of really bad guy for hassling Natima in a very vulnerable state. That's
I agree,
hope.
and I think they're playing off Quark's being materialistic and being morally grey at best.
Yeah.
Most of the time, just
Yep.
extremely self-interested above all else. The fact that in this episode, he will buy a dress for her above cost price if he thinks that will guarantee her safety. He will do whatever it takes to try and get her to stay because he genuinely feels for her. And yeah, his repetitive keenness to get her to say the same.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't play well. I think it could have been done differently, but it fits tropes of the 1940s and unfortunately the 1990s. Precisely. And I think that's why it persists in the form that it does.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah,
at least
they're playing the character for comedy and making him a hero, though. They're treading a fine line already. There's I don't want to excuse the awful trope, but I also don't want to.
We can acknowledge it.
Over the episode.
Exactly. All we can do is that we always do, which is acknowledge it, say that we, bumped on it. It wasn't for us, but it is very much a product of its time, and it's just an opportunity for us to go, wow, yeah, that shit wouldn't fly today.
Absolutely. And at the same time, I do genuinely read Natima Lang as being a very intelligent, self-possessed character with a lot of agency. She shot him because she wanted to. She then regretted it because she actually loves him.
I think that's a perfectly natural reaction. Yeah.
That's what anyone in that situation might do. So, yeah, I feel that she is acting under her own steam here. And,
So I guess we're into the outro. So, I think we've said a lot of what we would say otherwise, though, that we've come through this. And other than a few bits we've bumped on, which is like, well, that's a bit not what I would, want to see from my heroes in a modern show. All of their interactions are so believable and realistic, and there are so many levels of people fighting to overcome their instincts or their learned responses. It's just, the scope is massive. The interactions are hilarious and touching. The characters are believable and appealing. The action's brilliant. The world building is top notch. I really love this episode.
It is more or less a perfect episode of Deep Space Nine. We haven't got people buggering off on a shuttle to another planet somewhere and then getting stuck there. It's just ideal. I absolutely love it. There is so much to love in every scene. There is no word of dialogue wasted. And the characterization from everyone is brilliant. It's just so perfectly well put together. I have got some additional facts about the background from Memory Alpha, as usual. I've got a little bit about the original teleplay for the episode very closely paralleled the plot of the 1942 Academy Award-winning Michael Curtis film Casablanca. It was originally called Here's Looking at You, which is a reference to a popular quote from the film. However, the producers decided to change some of the more obvious references as well as the title to avoid potential legal problems. That was from the Deep Space Nine companion.
Very wise.
Yes, we've already mentioned Ira Stephen Bear disliking the episode because he feels that Quark comes across as too heroic. Whereas I personally think that it works especially well because Quark's motivation is so selfish for him to be willing to give her up at the end.
I'm so glad you thought so, Kat. That was my immediate interpretation. It is just Quark being selfish in a different way and having that blind spot for women that we've seen Ferengi men demonstrate before. It makes sense in universe.
It does, but I feel that at the end he genuinely lets her go and is quietly asking, can he go with her? He is really willing to throw away everything in his life for her, and she asks him not to, and he respects that at the end. And I think that's kind of what matters, whatever he's done for the rest of the episode.
You're absolutely right. Well said.
We've also got during this episode there was an earthquake during filming.
Yes.
Andrew Robinson, Armin Shimmerman, and various other actors were already having their makeup applied. Armin couldn't get through to his family on the phone, so he drove home in the early morning wearing full Ferengi makeup. I think it was on this occasion that he cited in an interview, probably with one of the podcasts, saying that he got through first at everyone just let him go at every junction because he was sitting there with his Ferengi makeup on, looking like something from another world. And everyone just like, no, you go first.
Yeah, no, please.
But yeah, bless the people who had to get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to sit in the chair for several hours, having these layers of makeup applied, and then mashing their teeth against each other while in full makeup, risking having to have it all taken off again.
I think that's something we should never lose sight of, is that these people are acting well and having physical moments and interactions and action scenes, also all while wearing this, what must be very uncomfortable latex all over their face.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. I noticed in chat that Nigel's very impressed that it was a non-Starfleet based story, but he does raise a couple of questions that I have and that I've raised at the end of a few episodes, which is, what's Sisko going to do now that the prisoners have escaped his jurisdiction? What is the Cardassian cruiser going to do now that their captain has been killed and not come back? There are many
really good
dangling
I mean, we know
there.
we know that they have a cloaking device, so Sisko does not have the opportunity to bring back the escaped prisoners. He has to just let them go because he's not going to see them in time, and nobody's going to tell him. But yeah, the Cardassians have now presumably got extra beef with Deep Space Nine because somebody there has killed off one of their goals.
That's absolutely it. So you could neatly wrap it all up because, at the same time, I don't think the Cardassian government's going to want to admit that one of its goals was on the space station about to kill prisoners held technically by the Bajoran government. It's another one of them murky diplomatic nightmares.
I kind of suspect that they would completely disavow any involvement on Garak's part by saying, we sent a gull to collect them, they murdered him, and he got away. And that it would probably just add to the mythos of why those people need to be taken in. And, well, not mythos, even the legal reasons they need to be taken in and executed because they've now killed a Cardassian gull.
Yeah. That's such a good
point.
It
does. I think it does tie together well in terms of those
read.
characters now bear all responsibility for everything that happened in the episode, as they effectively already did. No one's in a worse position for it. And Garak's happy because his catty ex is now dead.
You know, once again, I'm just going to stress that we don't actually know the relationship. It's not explained in this episode. But we will just, have to move ourselves towards the end of this.
Future episodes. I can watch the next episode now. The next episode that we will be watching is season 2, episode 19, Blood Oath. Klingons.
It's a great one. It's going to be a really, really good one. It sees some returning characters and actors from the original series. I'm really looking forward to getting to that one. So there we are. And Lieutenant Cat there in the chat just saying we're getting into binge desire territory. We are, and as always, all our thanks to Cat, who's resisting an overwhelming urge to just splurge through episode after episode. We appreciate them holding off on that desire. So let's absolutely crack on and do our level best to be back in a couple of weeks' time to discuss Blood Oath, the next episode of Season 2 of Deep Space Nine.
Thank you, everybody in chat who has sat here through what's effectively been an episode of me going, I love it so much. It's so perfect. There's nothing wrong with any of it. It's ideal. I love Garak so much. There was very little insight in this episode and a hell of a lot of squeeing. So thank you all for sitting with us through it. I really appreciate you.
We really do appreciate all of your chat. So thank you very much. Get your DVDs out. Have a watch of Blood Oath, and we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. Sound good, Kat?
Sounds excellent to me, Tim.
Live long and prosper, everyone. Bye.